The Cuyahoga County Soldiers and Sailors Monument has long been a fixture of Cleveland's public square. Since 1894, the soaring granite shaft, 4 epic bronze statuaries, and annual flower displays have made it impossible for anyone passing through public square to ignore. Though many passersby are familiar with the exterior of the monument, a startling number of people are unaware that the exterior is only half of what the monument has to offer. As part of the state of Ohio's Open Door program, we are going to take you on a journey into the history, symbolism, and architecture of the monument's interior. Before entering the south doors of the monument, you'll notice something unique about the style of the monument's architecture. The traditional elements one would expect from a building of the Gilded Age have largely been replaced with military symbols. For example, the supports beneath the arched windows depict upturned cannons, while the edges of the columns running up the length of the building depict ramrods topped with capitals fashioned out of ammunition pouches. This militaristic influence is continued on the set of tremendous bronze doors you encounter when entering the monument. These represent the emblems of the ordnance, the cavalry, the navy, the engineers, the infantry, and the artillery. Upon entering the monument, you will be greeted with a large, life-size panel depicting the women of the Northern Ohio Sanitary Commission and the Soldiers' Aid Society. Begun in April of 1861, shortly after the firing of Fort Sumter, the Soldiers' Aid Society provided support both to soldiers stationed at the many nearby military camps, as well as to the families of local soldiers who had left to fight on behalf of the Union. By October of 1861, the Soldiers' Aid Society became a branch of the United States Sanitary Commission, a national organization mostly comprised of women that supported the soldiers of the Union Army by providing supplies, medical expertise, and other services such as soldiers' homes. Despite being a smaller branch compared to those of other parts of the Union, the women of the Northern Ohio Sanitary Commission raised nearly $1 million worth of supplies to support the Union soldiers. Recognizing the efforts of women in the manner seen here was progressive for the time. Captain Levi T. Scofield, the man whose bust rests above the south doors of the monument, was not only the architect of the Soldiers and Sailors Monument, but was also responsible for the creation of the sculptures seen throughout. He was very deliberate in how he chose to memorialize the events and people of the Civil War. A veteran of the 103rd Ohio Volunteer Infantry and a prominent local architect, Scofield took no salary for his work on the monument. In fact, he was irked when the Monument Commission ordered him to place a bust of himself inside. As a result, unlike the other busts, Scofield is not shown in his military uniform. Rather, he is shown wearing the clothes of an artisan. Scofield considered the monument to be among his greatest works. He even designed the 1901 headquarters of his architectural firm on the corner of East 9th and Euclid so that he could view the monument from his office located on the top floor. Scofield's other works include the Mansfield Reformatory, the Athens State Lunatic Asylum, the YWCA building in Cleveland, and a sculpture called These Are My Jewels, which honors major Civil War figures from Ohio and sits on the grounds of the Ohio State House in Columbus. He and his family are interred at their family mausoleum in Lakeview Cemetery, which he designed. Moving left, you encounter a panel entitled The Beginning of the War. This depicts Ohio's 3 wartime governors, Dennison, Todd, and Bruff, as well as major generals either from Ohio or in charge of Ohio troops. Among them are 2 future presidents, James A. Garfield and Rutherford B. Hayes. In the background of the panel, you can see a depiction of civilians signing up for military service on the right, and on the left, leaving for war in uniform. Cleveland, being a northern city steeped in abolitionism, was quick to respond to Lincoln's call to arms. Over the course of the 4 long years of war, Cuyahoga County would provide nearly 9,000 men to the war effort. The names of these men are recognized across the walls of the monument. The 38 marble tablets along each wall of the monument are inscribed with the names of those honorably discharged soldiers and sailors who enlisted or were appointed from Cuyahoga County. Of these 9,000 men, about 1,100 would die from disease or battle. Interestingly, Elizabeth Scofield, Levi Scofield's wife, was largely responsible for the collection and compilation of the monument's roll of honor. Since the state of Ohio would not complete its official roster until after the monument's dedication, this research had to be done largely from scratch. An important note about the marble. Although it appears that the monument is decorated with all sorts of different types of stone, it is in fact made almost exclusively out of white Carrara marble from Italy that has been painted to look like different types of stone. This was a common practice at the time of the monument's construction, but in the late 1950s, a solution of acid was used to clean the walls, which resulted in the colors being unintentionally stripped from the marble. In 2008, with assistance from the Cleveland Museum of Art and the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, remnants of color were studied and analyzed. With this help, we were able to recreate the original color palette, which was then painstakingly applied by hand as part of our $2 million renovation. The 2008 renovation also included the installation of additional display cases, as well as the removal, cleaning, repair, and reinstallation of the stained glass windows. There are 14 stained glass windows throughout the monument, each depicting the arms and accoutrements of the military branches represented by the corresponding statuary outside. They were designed by a local glassworks called H.W. Lewis & Company at a cost of $200 per window at the time. The 6 busts located between the windows on the east and west walls represent notable soldiers who either died in combat or died of conditions resulting from combat. The medallions lining the central walls represent military figures who were specifically chosen by the Monument Commission to be honored for their contributions to the war effort. Continuing left, this next panel is perhaps the most captivating depiction within the monument. Here, Abraham Lincoln is seen symbolically emancipating the enslaved man while also providing him with arms to fight for his freedom and the preservation of the Union. Behind Lincoln are prominent Ohio abolitionists Benjamin Wade, Joshua Giddings, Salmon P. Chase, and John Sherman. In particular, this panel represents 2 important pieces of federal legislation: the Emancipation Proclamation and the creation of the United States Colored Troops. The man who represents the freed slave is not merely allegorical either. He was a man by the name of Dan Fields who fled from the slave state of Louisiana and eventually made his way up to Cleveland, where he assisted in the construction of the monument. He is buried at historic Erie Street Cemetery in downtown Cleveland. Moreover, Scofield and the Monument Commission were intentional in including an accurate representation of the sacrifices of African Americans during the Civil War. Not only are they depicted as active participants in the conflict, such as in this panel, but the names of members of the United States Colored Troops from Cuyahoga County are inscribed alongside the names of and in the same manner as other veterans from the county. As previously mentioned, the military records of Cuyahoga County's Civil War veterans were limited at the time of the monument's construction. In 2002, students from Washington Courthouse, Ohio, began to discover that there were a number of United States Colored Troops veterans from Cuyahoga County who were not included in the monument's official Roll of Honor. After 10 years of extensive research and verification, the Monument Commission was able to determine that 107 members of the United States Colored Troops were eligible for recognition. On July 19, 2019, Juneteenth, the names of these 107 individuals were officially added to the monument's Roll of Honor. The monument's final interior panel depicts an allegorical meeting between Lincoln and his generals, discussing how the war should be brought to an end. This was inspired by an actual council of war which occurred in March of 1865 between President Lincoln, General Grant, General Sherman, and Admiral Porter aboard the steamship called the River Queen, near City Point, Virginia. It was at this meeting that Lincoln expressed his desire for a swift end to the war and magnanimous treatment of the rebels thereafter. General Sherman's aggressive posture in this panel can be viewed as representing his opposition to Lincoln's desires expressed at that council of war. Sherman desired to obtain the Confederate surrender on his own terms, potentially dragging out the war for another 2 weeks. Lincoln was firm in his assertions that the war should be brought to an end quickly, and by November of 1865, the war would come to its final conclusion. Sadly, Lincoln would be assassinated only 2 weeks after this meeting took place. Within the walls of the Cuyahoga County Soldiers and Sailors Monument lies a great history. It contains the history of 9,000 individuals who participated in the single greatest struggle of their age. It contains a history of a country torn apart by hatred and division. Each panel, each statuary, bust, symbol, and name tells one small piece of that great history. Yet, what does it all mean? In 1894, at the dedication of the monument, Civil War veteran William McKinley, then governor and future president, spoke to this very object. At the conclusion of his speech, he stated, quote, "What does this monument mean? It means the immortal principle of patriotism. It means love of country. It means sacrifices for the country we love. It means not only love of country, but love of liberty. This alone could have inspired 2,800,000 Union soldiers to leave home and family to offer to die, if need be, for our imperiled institutions. Love of country alone could have inspired 300,000 men to die for the Union. Nothing less sacred than this love of country could have sustained 175,000 brave men who suffered and starved and died in rebel prisons. Nor could anything else have given comfort to the 500,000 maimed and diseased who escaped immediate death in siege and battle to end in torment the remainder of their patriot lives. It is a noble patriotism that impels you, my fellow citizens, to erect this magnificent monument to their honor and memory. And similar love of country will inspire your remotest descendants to do homage to their valor and bravery forever. This is what the monument means, the lesson it conveys to the present and all future generations. It means that the cause in which they died was a righteous one, and it means that the cause which triumphed through their valor shall be perpetuated for all time.